I'm back again. New cut. What's up? So, let's just get started, I guess. No way to get into it. No easy way to get into it. What am I talking about? It's about cartoons. What the hell am I saying? Anyway, I grew up watching a lot of cartoons, as many people did. So, but I grew up watching more Nickelodeon and some older ones like Tom and Jerry and Popeye. But we'll get into that in a bit. If you're living under a rock, no pun intended, and you don't know what SpongeBob is, you just need to watch a single episode. It doesn't matter what you do or how old you are. You probably heard at least of SpongeBob at least once. Surprisingly, it's still going on today, even years after the creator passed away. And unsurprisingly, they wanted to milk it for their money. So there's two spin-offs, even though the creator Steven Hillenburg didn't want any spin-offs. He specifically requested not to have any spin-offs of his show. He didn't want it. But yeah, after he died, they did it. All for money. Which reminds me of that scene from the first SpongeBob movie where Mr. Krabs bought a second Krusty Krab just because of money. That's basically the definition of most modern media or most modern companies, like Disney and live action. Anyway, that's a different story for a different day, I guess. Yeah, SpongeBob, in my opinion, the first 3 seasons were the best. Seasons 4 through 5 were okay. They were tolerable. 6 through 7 were getting like to the point where like what is the show even more? And then I just stopped watching it midway through season 9. Like I just couldn't. After that, it was just like unwatchable with too much editing, too much new animation, ruins it. I like older animations. Like it, I don't like new fluid animation. Like it's too much like detail, in my opinion, with the new SpongeBob's. There's too much emphasis on now the voice acting, in my opinion. Like whatchamacallit, the newer SpongeBob, I know because the voice actors are getting older, they don't sound like they did when they were like years and years and years ago. It started in 1999 and still going on through 2025. It's pretty much the Nickelodeon's biggest thing nowadays. It always has been. But back then, there was also other shows, Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents. I've been more of a Fairly Odd Parents than Jimmy Neutron. I know. But what are you going to do about it? They're both good shows, but I've just been more into Fairly Odd Parents. I think actually going back to SpongeBob, yeah. There's like 3 movies now. Should have been only 1. Sure, the second one is okay, but nothing beats the first one. I can just like name a scene in the old SpongeBob in the first SpongeBob movie that's iconic. That's pretty much the whole movie's iconic. If I remember correctly, the one of the mermaids is voiced by Scarlett Johansson of all people. Yeah, as I was saying before, I also kind of grew up on watching Fairly Odd Parents. I haven't really been watching that much Jimmy Neutron when I was younger. I've always been into Fairly Odd Parents. In my opinion, it kind of went downhill after the child was born. Like, what the heck was that episode? You know, I don't even have to describe it. Or I should say, let's just say in the fairy world, everything is different. Everything is the opposite. Like mothers get. I'm not even gonna just talk about it, but the father is actually the mother, and the mother's the father. If that makes sense. But I'm not gonna get into that at all. I'm just not gonna get into it because it's just too confusing. But my favorite episode, and I'm pretty sure everyone else's, if you're normal and don't actually care about the show, if you actually don't care about the show, then you just care about you just like every season. But in my opinion, the best episode is the channel chasers or channel surfers. One of those two, I can't remember the name, where they basically like go into different TV channels and like into different shows. And then there's like different shows like they go into to save the present from the future with all time travel. Some of the shows they like hijack include a Dragon Ball parody. It looks like Blue's Clues, um, some other things like and some other things I can't remember. I watched like a month ago. Oh, and one thing I there was a game show, and that's all I remember about that part too. But yeah, one of the best characters in my opinion though, Chip Skywalker. You know you gotta have pretty you gotta have shiny teeth, or else you're not gonna be successful in life, or else you're not gonna be popular. Gotta have good hygiene, and that's actually a good message that you could deliver to kids through song and dance. Oh, and also Chip Skywalker is voiced by I think Chris Kirkpatrick from the band NSYNC. If I'm correct in that band, I don't know too much about that band except for Joey Fatone and Justin Timberlake. That's all I know about the band, and I guess Chris. I don't know. Other than that, I guess regular show is also a good one, but I remember like only a few parts of it. All I remember from it though is that what do you call it? Their shenanigans. I don't know a better way to call it. Their adventures are like you try to save the world from like anything. Like whatever they do, they have to save the world. Even one of them, like in the early episodes, setting up chairs. Somehow they mess up something, and they have to change, and they have to save everyone before everyone perishes. I don't know. It's a weird world. It's a weird world, that one. But if you want to talk about old cartoons, like good cartoons, like if you're into like physics and stuff like that, not like physics, but if you're into like cartoon physics and you want to know what they do, like what it is, just look at old cartoons, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, and Looney Tunes and Popeye. Basically, whatever they do is reality, and the laws of physics doesn't apply to them. They could be crushed by two trains and walk out just fine. They could be erased from existence and just will themselves and just say no and just be back to life. An example I would like to say would be Popeye. He can be erased from existence, and all he has to do is eat spinach. I'm not even kidding. That's all he has to do. And I think back in the time, from what I remember on just a quick Google search, it was spinach production, spinach sales in the U.S. like actually grew during that time, which is actually good because kids were actually eating their vegetables. Nowadays, like I used to own, or I still own Popeye DVDs, like old episodes of them. But since like there's no DVD players anymore, they're just collector's items. And if I ever do find a service that could like transfer DVD stuff to online, like digital, I definitely would. I would definitely go back and watch that. Or if I'm in a place with a DVD player and I somehow have that DVD with me, I would obviously put an episode on because it's always like nostalgic. And if you watch a TV show that you haven't watched in years, it's like you're being a kid again. Yeah, I grew up watching Popeye and Tom and Jerry. My great grandfather actually brought me on to Tom and Jerry. I'm more into like the older episodes, like the older ones, not like the newer, like something color, multicolor, something like that. I'm not sure what it's called. Like I like the older animation. The older animations. Like you could see like I don't know how to describe it. It's not like new at all. It's not black and white. It's like the first colored thing. Yeah, that animation and voice style where you could tell it's old. Where you can tell it's old, that's the best in my opinion. You can never get old. You can never get old with that. Now, if you have cable, which surprisingly not many people do nowadays. I mean, well, I don't know why it's not surprising. Like it's expensive and it's like a lot. It's a lot to handle. But if you do still have cable, there's a lot of Tom and Jerry episodes and Looney Tunes episodes. But you can't. But there's barely any Popeye episodes. I don't know why. Also, Popeye and spinach. Basically, with him and spinach, he could do anything and everything he wants. What does that mean? From what I hear on this YouTube channel called Death Battle, which is a good channel if you like debates on fictional characters fighting. Um, basically, whenever he eats spinach, he can do anything he wants. Turn into different shapes. He can punch people into different objects. Like in the like I was saying, Death Battle has a video like where he was fighting an anime character, Saitama from One Punch Man, and basically at the end of the episode, there was basically no way Saitama was gonna win. Let's be honest. There's like a man between a person who can punch really hard versus a man who could punch something into the sun and give the sun a black eye. Come on, you're not beating that guy. So anyway, as I was saying, at the end you could see Ao. Actually, at the beginning, first of all, Saitama looks like he wins, but then Popeye eats spinach, and then lo and behold, he's back to life. Basically, he could punch anything into similar objects. Like at the end of the episode when he won, he basically punched Saitama so hard he turned into eggs. Yes, he could actually do that. He once punched an anchor into like fishing hooks, and back then it was black and white. So, also surprising, a bit off topic, but on topic. But Popeye was actually just in the public domain in the beginning of this year. But I think only the comic strip, not the character himself. Like, you can't eat spinach yet. Like, I don't think you could do a scene with him eating spinach yet. But I'm pretty sure, like we saw with Winnie the Pooh, we're gonna see a horror movie. And honestly, with the horror movie stuff, if that actually does happen, I might actually watch that just to see how bad it is and to just see what Popeye looks like. And there was also like a live action Popeye with Robin Williams. Rest in peace. I wish he was still alive, but God always has plans. I don't know why. But yeah, he did live action Popeye. And if I'm remembering correctly, they were about to do a Popeye animation movie on Sony Animation, but I think they cut that for the Emoji Movie, which is the worst decision, which is the worst decision in the history in filmmaking. Like I grew up on that. I wanted to see that. I wouldn't ever want to see the Emoji Movie, which I never did. Again, I don't know why, but so yeah, they make good money. They teach kids how to do good stuff. The older ones, like not the newer ones. The newer ones are like, if you watch SpongeBob, he's like my grandma. Funny thing, my grandmother didn't like me watch SpongeBob because because she said that she said that SpongeBob was quote not nice to his friends unquote. And sometimes, if you could see how he torments Squidward in like half the episodes, you can see where Squidward comes from. He just wants to live his life, but then SpongeBob just annoys him throughout the entire day. And if we were talking about crimes like committed by Mr. Krabs and like labor laws, we would be here all day. But like, if I remember correctly, it's like he would pay his like employees like a nickel for a full year's salary, and even sold SpongeBob's soul for like 20 cents. I'm not sure on the exact number, but I remember it was like just like a low number. Imagine selling the soul of your employee just to make a few cents. Like that's greed that's the epitome of the sin of greed, in my opinion. Yeah, the sin of greed. I don't know why, but Mr. Krabs needs to be in jail. Honestly, in the first SpongeBob movie, whenever they froze him solid in ice, he deserved it. And basically, he tries to. Honestly, it's good competition with the restaurant right across the street, the Chum Bucket. Basically, a small little plankton basically owns a restaurant with like blended up fish in the ocean. No wonder it's not doing well. It's basically like cannibalism. So yeah, the old I liked older cartoons. I was growing up on Popeye and old SpongeBob episodes, Tom and Jerry, stuff like that. I refuse to watch newer SpongeBob episodes. Like I've seen clips of it and just like, no, I just don't like it. And I guess that's pretty much it.